And at least it is in my corner of the world. I know there's all the other places where it's yesterday or tomorrow, whatever. Just for a moment, let's all pretend that today is the 5th of December, just for a moment. And the reason I would like us to do that is I would like us all to focus on one simple win at a time during this video, because that's the theme. And the reason it's the theme is because I've noticed something. And I was staring at it repeatedly, and I couldn't define it. I couldn't come up with a name for it. And I'm the word girl. Thank goodness I'm the word girl, because the math girl is sort of an iffy kind of title for me. So when it finally struck me, I just have to, sorry, speaking of simple wins, one simple win at a time, welcome back. What I want to talk about today is how good morning, Charles, how we own our simple win. All of these programs, all of these hyped up things, the frantic antic dances that people lure us along with because they're exciting and the music is loud and everything is crazy. And good morning, Freddie. These are exciting and fun, and we should all give ourselves permission to have excitement and fun. This is not a kind of now then, young lady, young gentleman, young person. Good morning, Eddie. This is a conversation today about how we suddenly find ourselves in a very frantic place. And I'm seeing it a lot, and I have been seeing it a lot. And I found it really difficult to try to describe to people in a way that would make everyone go, oh my God, that's exactly what it is. So all of a sudden, boom, the guy in the back handed me a term. And I think it is utterly brilliant. I'm not taking credit. It's the guy in the back. And here's what it is. I'm going to call it toddler terror. When you see that little kid, that small kid, frantic, because they don't have tools, they don't know what's going on, they have very little language, they certainly don't have a concept of cause and effect. They go from sitting and wondering to full on blind panic, right? We have all been there. And as we look around us, as the amping up for buy this, do this, be more, see more, do more is amping up, and the rapid fire, quick cutting, loud noise messaging that's coming at us is highly addictive. It's highly infectious. We are spinning without even realizing it. And all of a sudden, when the music stops for any particular reason, we have no idea where we are. We have no idea how we got here. And we have no idea how to get back to the safe space. There is no set of tools. There's no set of instructions. There's no set of, oh, I remember this place. We turn left here, available to us because we're overwhelmed. We have sugar rushed ourselves into an unthinking state. And I have been talking to lovely people over the last few weeks now who are rendered terrified and terrorized. And what is difficult for me, in that I'm trying to help, I'm trying to make this work, is I can't make myself heard over their inner loop tape screaming. I can't get them to a place where they can hear me. I literally had a conversation the other day with someone who I dearly, dearly love. And I had to keep saying the thing over and over and over and over until they had to pause for breath. And when in that brief moment of pause for breath, I said, stop. And they did. So I said, can you hear me now? Yes, of course I can hear you now. Good. Don't speak. And then I spoke. And the answer was, oh, is that what you were saying? And I said, yes. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. I know. I'm panicking. I can't seem to stop myself panicking. I know. And so I walked this friend of mine back through a couple of the exercises that I've been sharing about the 5 finger breathing. Take the time to just trace your fingers one way and then the other on one hand. And don't think about anything else about this exercise, and then do it again a little slower. I'm just speeding it up to walk you through it. This is the 5 finger breathing exercise. You can take a breath, and as you do it, all of a sudden, the next thing you realize is that whatever it was that was panicking you got put back, got put into the later folder automatically. You see, these little tools that I have are actually coping mechanisms. The difficulty is we can't have a simple win if we are training ourselves and practicing to be wound up all the time. All the time. I've got to check my phone. Was that a ping? Was that for me? Some people require more effort than others. Freddie Moore just said, some people require more effort than others. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. And some situations require more effort than others. And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. It's because the way we have developed and are developing our appetites is that we are no longer content to wait. People are impatient in the fast food pickup line. People are annoyed that they have to wait for things a few minutes because they have 7 other places they need to be at the same time. And, my question is, I know I can't ask it in the moment because they're already frantic, but why did you plan to be in 7 places at the same time? Did you not see that wasn't going to work? No, they didn't. No, they didn't, because we are training ourselves to think we can. And it's foolish. So on today's special day, this is an extraordinarily important day for me. It's the day that I woke up in a hospital and realized I was alive. And when the memories of everything that had just happened in the previous 24 hours came flooding back, it was fairly scary. Yes, you can only be in one place at one time. Charles, we're on the same page here. It's just not everybody is prepared to accept that. So, when I woke up in that hospital, I want to explain this to you, not that my accident is bigger or scarier or more terrible or important than any of the crises that you have met and mastered and owned and moved on from and learned through. It's that this was my lesson. Everything else that I had been thinking was important wasn't. Everything else that I had planned didn't matter. What mattered was safe. I'm here. Where am I? Why am I? Oh my goodness. All of those things that had happened that I didn't see coming, that none of us saw coming, came in a mad rush. Was someone at fault? Doesn't matter. Should someone be made to pay? Doesn't matter. You know what matters? Safe. What matters is I'm here. What matters is I own this moment. A bunch of joy and gratitude right there, I got to tell you. Every other thing that I had on a list of stuff that I absolutely have to do, And it was going to be a busy day. It was the 5th of December, and I was on my way to do a whole lot of things that day. And all of a sudden, none of them mattered. All of a sudden, being in that hospital bed, being in that safe space, being cared for by professionals, being able to breathe, that's what mattered. All the other stuff was a reorganizing and a resetting of their value on my list of priorities. How long was my list of priorities? One. Breathe. Good. Did it? You liked it? Good. Do it again. Let's keep doing it for a while. Let's let everything else settle. Let's let all the systems that are going through their self-diagnostic do that job. Let's not add anything. Let's not try to get up out of bed. Let's just be grateful that we have one to be in. And that was my day. And I spent it with my best friend, my high school friend who was in that accident with me. And when we saw each other, when we looked across at each other in the bed, there were no words. We were just grateful. When our parents came, everybody grateful. And the doctors and the nurses, grateful. That's it, just grateful. In pain, didn't notice. Don't remember, probably. What I remember is grateful. Why? Because I had been given a bonus. I had been given the gift of all gifts. The gift I was given was very simple. The gift was to be here now. That was the gift. Didn't come in a box. There wasn't a card. That was the gift. Best gift ever. And every year, every day, but every year I get in touch with my girlfriend and I say, happy anniversary. And she says, happy anniversary. There's nothing else to say. All the other words, the adverbs, the adjectives, the whatevers, gilding the lily. It was like that for Charles's wife, Kat, 13 years ago. She woke up. She woke up and said, boy, there's a trick. There's a skill. Let's practice that a lot. Let's practice waking up and being here now. So the conversation, excuse me, I'm close to teary because, by the way, what an incredible gift, right? And when I woke up this morning for the 4th time, I'll tell you that story in a minute, and I realized it was December 5th, I said, okay, probably, yes, make the most of our gifts. That's right, Freddie. Probably I needed to go through what I went through in the middle of the night in order to be appreciative, in order to not be full steaming ahead here. So here's what happened in the middle of the night. It was like 2 o'clock in the morning. And pardon me while I do this restorative thing here. Cheers. Oh, that's such a good idea. There was a loud banging and clanking. And when I woke up, I realized there was also a beeping. And I looked at the clock and it said something like 2:15. And so I thought, okay, so they're not doing the garbage pickup. There has to be a noise bylaw for that. There's got to be something that's going on. Or it's just, I mean, who are you going to get to come and do that at 2 o'clock in the morning? And I tried to go back to sleep, but it wasn't super loud because I'm, I often have the windows closed because it's a little chilly, but it was there. And once you're awake and you can hear it, now you can focus on it. And I was trying to figure out what it could possibly be. And I got up and I couldn't really see anything because, of course, it was happening right below me. But it was a very similar sound to what happens on the regular schedule when the large trucks come and pick up the big containers, bonk, 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 clank, and empty the various different sorted garbage containers that are part of our building maintenance situation. And then I realized that the beeping was the sound that I hear when the trucks back up, right? Because the truck backs up and then it pulls out and it does its thing and then it backs up and it went on for a long time. And I was trying to think what it could possibly be. And then I realized that a big turnover in the building took place a few months ago. And a number of the recently vacant apartments were having upgrades. And so the idea was, an upgrade is you take out the things that are not necessary. So all the apartments come with appliances. All the appliances were removed and replaced, upgraded to new. So where do you put all these old appliances? Well, they've been stored in different areas down in the basement. And I thought, you know what? I bet they've come to take them. I bet that's it. I bet there's some reason that that's happening now. I bet there's some situation that they've got the opportunity, they've gotten a special permit, and they're taking care of it, because it's the only reason it would take so long. There were, I am assuming there were at least 20 apartments that were being redone. So that's a lot of stove, fridge, dishwasher, it's a lot of stuff, washer, dryer, like it's a lot times 20 or so. And I kept seeing them, stored away in convenient corners in the basement, thinking to myself, well, at some point they're leaving. And I thought, why would anybody do that at 2:00 in the morning? See, I'm having these conversations because I can't go back to sleep, right? I'm talking to myself. And of course, it would be the only time with the snow briefly stopped and no other traffic and no other need for back and forth. It would be a window of opportunity. That would make sense. I haven't had a chance to find out yet. And almost as soon as I had realized that that was probably what was going on, there was a part of me that was annoyed because it was loud and it was 2 a.m. and it was a work day coming. It had been a work day and it's another work day. And I was thinking of all the people who needed to get their sleep, not just me. And then my helpful little voice said, the good news is we're not the one driving the truck. And I just, everything stopped. I don't mean the noise. The noise was still the noise, but I thought, you know what? There's my gratitude. There's my simple win. I'm not the one driving the truck. Because to be the one, and I mean, I could. I got my trucker's license. Not that I'm going to do that. I want to keep the world as safe as possible for everyone else and me. But I realized that if I were the one driving that truck, then my job began at midnight. I was up at midnight. I got a call. Doesn't matter that I might be working double time and getting the extra money for Christmas. It meant that on a cold night, I was up in the middle of dark, putting on my clothes and heading off to work. And I was sitting in a cold truck waiting it to warm up. And I was driving over. And I was going to be doing that job for as long as it took to do that job. And then I was going to be driving home, exhausted. And everybody else around me would just be getting up when I was going to bed. And my schedule would be out of whack because I don't normally work nights. So it would take me a day or two to recover. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, you know what you just said before, Freddie? I'm sorry to interrupt my train of thought here, but Freddie just said it's terrible when you can't get back to sleep. It messes up your rest. Yes, it does. And Freddie, the comment you made before was make the most of your gifts. And that was exactly what happened. These two conversations that you and I have just had right here. It's terrible when you can't get back to sleep. Yes. So if I can't get back to sleep, rather than sitting there and feeling sorry for myself, how about if I make the most of my gifts? And I did. I said to myself, the simple win for me right now is that I'm in this warm bed. The simple win for me right now I said, I can breathe. I can do my 5-finger breathing exercise. And I can tell myself, remind myself, write down in my journal that I am grateful right now for this moment of recognition that someone running this building is also up overseeing that task. Why? Because they care, because they're dedicated, because they're committed, because they show up, because it matters to them that it's done right. And they're lovely people. They want to be proud of the job they do. They don't do it to get a gold star handed to them by somebody up the chain. They do it to be able to say at the end of that day, okay, that was an 8 or a 9. It might even be close to a 10. Yay me. Thank you for the opportunity. Now I hope I can get some sleep. And I would be willing to bet that that team is exhausted today. And that team is going to have to listen to a lot of people who will complain that it was noisy in the night. And they're going to figure out how to suck it up. And when I've done my video, I'm going downstairs and I'm going to say, Cheerleader Abby over here, thank you. Thank you for looking after us. Thank you for disturbing your sleep to make it happen. Thank you. You're amazing. So I can contribute to their 8 or 9 or 10. Can I go back to sleep later? Yeah, I can sleep tonight. So can they. So can everybody. And the conversation about the height, the conversation about the running in circles and picking things up and putting them down and doing it again and winding themselves up and getting louder and louder and louder, is that it has to stop. And the only way it can stop is with us. Now we need help. We need people to remind us that we're spinning. Because when you're in the spin, you don't notice. That thing that I talk about. I don't like rain, coworker. Be thankful we work under a roof. Well, there's that. And imagine if you didn't have any rain ever. Think about that for a minute. Eddie, I used to say when I got incredibly wet, for some reason or another, that the good news is that human beings are wash and wear. I may be wet now, but later on I can be dry and I can start again. And I can get out from under. I have opportunities to do that. And so the focus that I want to talk about today, how we own our simple win, how we do it, is what eludes us. Because nobody's talking about how. It's buy it, get it, do it, be it, more. On sale, bigger sale, another sale tomorrow. Do it, run, chase. Do it again. Or do it 1,000%, stop, sit down, breathe, drink some water, catch your breath, check your pulse, see how far you got, dust yourself off, start again. Because the race is not the point. It is the quality of the journey. It's not how fast. It's how beautiful. It's how memorable. It's how delicious. That line I was looking for the other day, I'm pretty sure it was Stephen Wright. Everything we eat is bite-sized eventually. Because why? So the packaging on the box, it's bite-sized. It should be already bite-sized. We've done the work for you. We've cut it into pieces that you can just directly swallow. The idea that if it's bite sized, we can eat more of them. The idea that if we can't eat a potato all in one swallow, then we should be served chips so that we just mindlessly eat many of them long after we stop being hungry is not a win. It's a compulsion. It's not a destination. It's a trip, stumble, fall down a slope off the side of a cliff. And the reason this matters, this is not a conversation. This video is not a conversation about, growing up and being mature and taking your time and blah 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 and sounding boring like you're some million-year-old tortoise. It's not that. My goal in this conversation is to remind all of us, me too, that the last thing I want any day, is to find myself experiencing toddler terror. Toddler terror is what we achieve when we are lost, confused, exhausted, and we can't find anything in our immediate view that feels or smells or sounds or tastes like safety. How do we get there? By not paying attention. How do we get there? By inviting more stimulus than we need. Oh my God, if this is good, 6 would be great. 47 would be incredible. Yeah. Probably not. A long time ago, back in the midst of before COVID, I did Ottawa Comic Con, my first con. Oh my gosh. And somebody said to me, I'd like to ask your opinion, Mom. And I said, oh, good heavens. Okay. I hope I can help. And he said, I had a rather difficult visit with a doctor, and I'm okay. But the doctor said, I'm okay, but the doctor said, maybe it would be a good idea to work on your bucket list. Okay, now an instruction like that would be a blank moment of terror for me. However, I kind of got the idea what the doctor was meaning. And so this fellow said, so I was wondering, Mom, if you could give me any pointers on how to do that. And I said, I can, as a matter of fact. Excuse me. I said, this is what I think. I think lists are important. Certainly grocery lists are important. Because when you don't make them and you get home, you realize that for the 14th time, you've forgotten to buy milk. And now you really need the milk, and now you have to go back and do it again to get the milk. Those kinds of lists are important. A bucket list of all the things that I want to be sure I take care of has a flaw, and it's this. We think about all the things because that's what a list is. And we want to be sure we don't forget any of them because that's what a list is. Our priority becomes the list because that's what we said we were going to do. We were going to work on our bucket list. What I think is really important, what I said to this lovely guy was this. If you only had time or you only had the resources, maybe that's better, to do one, what would it be? What would the biggest and best one be? That you would be willing to say, okay, if I can only have one, it's this one. And you know what? He knew right away. The minute I said that, he said, oh, yeah, I've got it. And he told me. And I said, really? Why? And he told me this magical story about why this was the thing he just loved to do when he had the time and he had the resources. This was the best time ever kind of fun for him. And I said, well, there you go. And he said, so what about the list? And I said, why don't you make a list of all the ways you can do that? And once you have done all the ways, all the versions, all the chapters of that, all the steps of that, and you've accumulated all of the souvenirs of that, you can look at the next one. Because once that is perfect and you've taken care of it, and you're thrilled and you feel so amazing because you've looked after every part of it that you could imagine, then you're ready to own to the same size and shape and taste and smell and sound number 2 on the list. Because you've taken care of number 1, number 2 is now number 1. And you can completely live number 2 in the same way that you relished every single moment of the first one. To me, that is how you live your list. That is how you make the list come true in all of its shapes and sizes and colors and textures. And he said, wow, I can already think of, and I forget what the number was, it was crazy, something like 14. I can already think of 14 different ways I want to do this special thing. And I said, good. And I want to say this so clearly for you. The joy, the color in his face, his shoulders back, his grin, the sparkle in his eyes, the energy, the all of him had come alive while he was imagining the first 14 that he could think of, because he'd already done them. I could tell he'd already done them, and he couldn't wait to do them again. And I heard from him a while after that, a year or so later. He reached out for some anniversary of something. And he said, I wanted to tell you, and I've been meaning to tell you, and I never got around to it. You completely changed everything that day. Because I was really feeling like there was sort of something chasing me to get the job done, the list done, the bucket list done, that I had to achieve this. And I wasn't having any fun. And the minute you brought me back to the moment of the first one, and you told me that I had permission, it was mine, that I had permission to just love every part of that one thing, every single moment of it, everything changed. My wife noticed it. Everybody noticed it. I was different. He said, I almost want to say I felt grounded, but I didn't feel grounded. I felt free. And I said, there. Because when we're spinning, we're not free. We're on a wheel. We're allowed to step off the wheel. We're allowed to say, I'm taking a personal day. I'm taking the time to achieve a simple win. The simple win is I stepped off the wheel. If all I do today is savor that, huzzah. So my energy is down a quart today because I was up thinking until I figured out how to allow myself to go back to sleep. And I knew I was going to be at a slower pace today. And I knew that I wanted to use this opportunity to allow you to see me at a slower pace, because it doesn't often happen. And this is me at kind of at about 70%, 75% maybe. It's all good 75. There is no negative. I'm a little sleep deprived. And it's perfectly okay because I will do the small, simple tasks that don't require me to make sure that 4 and 3 aren't 11. I won't be a danger to myself or others in the math room. I will be fine. I am perfectly fine. And I am grateful for this opportunity to have a slower pace going on around me so I can truly celebrate and truly appreciate how wonderful it is to be here. I won't say I've never had toddler terror. We all have. I think being alpha at work, I have to be more watchful and mindful. And then someone else has a toddler terror episode and I'm okay, here's what we need to do. Yeah, if we've had toddler terror, we know what it looks like. We know how it feels. And I think, Eddie, you may agree with me, is that once we can put a name on it and the name resonates and we all recognize that very, very simple time in our lives when we really were very, very much on basic first gear drive, we didn't have a lot of fallbacks. We didn't have a lot of plans B or C. We were kind of operating in forward motion mode until we tripped on something or stumbled on something and fell over and sat there and then went, ah, right? So the toddler terror thing for me is the recognition moment. The recognition moment that I have now said, if we place our hand here, where the shallow breathing takes place, if we place our hand here and we can feel the shallow breathing, if we pause and listen as we're talking, if we're talking faster, if our voice is higher, if the volume is louder, we are on the edges of toddler terror. If we can give ourselves permission to say, okay, I need to hack. I need a pattern interrupt. What's my silly word? Boof. What's my silly word? Squirrel. What's my silly word? Seaweed. What's my silly word? Pickle. Whatever my silly pattern interrupt word is, I get to say it, hear myself say it, recognize that I'm saying it, take the time. And when we've done that breathing and feel where we are, one more moment, pick up the pen, open the later folder, worry about the panic moment later, put it away. We deserve that. It takes mere seconds. It takes less than a minute. And then the value of taking that minute is that every next minute after that is one that we own. It's rich, it's full, it's productive. We are in charge. We are no longer living in victimhood. We've moved out of that neighborhood. We are back where we belong. We're walking here. And that's the point. That's the whole point of today's message. How do we own the simple win? Go back to basics. Give ourselves permission to breathe. Give ourselves permission to remember that every coin has two sides. It has an edge as well. But the two sides are, one is the moment, the other is the lesson. What has happened? What do I get to take away? What is enriching my life? What am I learning? Even if the lesson was bad, even if it left us feeling lost, alone, shocked, confused, betrayed, the lesson is, and we have to wait for it. We have to give ourselves permission to find a place to feel safe so we can hear when our inner voice says, here's the lesson. Me at 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm not the one in the truck. Bingo. Thank you. It could have been me. It could have been me in the truck. It could have been me. It wasn't. I was the one in the bed, in the warm bed, in the beautiful home, safe, grateful, ready to go back to sleep. That was what that exercise did for me at 2 o'clock in the morning of December 5th. Effectively, what happened to me at 2 o'clock this morning is I woke up again. I woke up to the day. I woke up to the anniversary. But I also woke up to gratitude. I was not driving the truck. I was warm. I was safe. How about that for a simple win? So for every single one of us, whether we are feeling something because the energy of someone swirling on by kind of washed over us, and we're thinking, ooh, what's that? What are those ripples? Where did that come from? We have permission to say, no, heart-shaped line in the sand, love you from afar, safe voyage. We have permission to engage when we feel we can and should, and disengage when we feel this is not my time, this is not my moment, this is not mine to own. I love you from afar. We have permission to make those decisions. Now, this time of year, the other day I posted, I don't know if you're following me on Facebook, or if you're seeing this on the YouTube channel. I posted the other day a cartoon of a crash test dummy behind the wheel on a phone saying, well, I'm almost at the wall, I guess I better go. And I said, December is not a crash test. December does not have to be a screaming panic. The giving month, the end of the year, the beginning of new beginnings does not have to be a frantic swirl. We own the choices we make. We are the ones who choose to be overwhelmed. We are the ones who choose to say, I do not like being overwhelmed. I need help. We have the freedom to choose. Always, always. And I wish for you the decision that, as this friend of mine who was spinning quite dramatically said, I called you because I knew that I needed to talk to you. And I said, well, thank you. And are you ready to listen? Because you can't call me and scream all the things that are panicking you, because then the call was a waste of everyone's time. If you called me, it was to have a conversation, a give and take, a share and a receive. And you have to slow down long enough to be willing to hear, to be willing to receive, to be willing to say, this was why I called her. Maybe I need to try to figure out how to stop spinning so I can actually hear the message she's trying to share. We have to do that homework. And the thing that I said, that I found, that I discovered, not mine, certainly mine to share, not mine to say I'm proud of. It wasn't my idea. We cannot get better by multitasking. We only get better by monotasking, by honoring, respecting, and owning each moment in the moment. Because if we do 100%, then the moment is fabulous. Move next. We can't juggle the moments. It's not how it works. And by the way, as the joke, everything we eat is bite size eventually. I want to tell you something very interesting that is kind of on the same path. When we are juggling, multitasking, we are not doing things simultaneously. We are doing them in a frantic, antic succession. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So fast, it feels like we're doing them simultaneously. We're not. We're not. We can't. Why? Because you can only hold one flaming chainsaw at a time. It may look like we're holding many, but if you can slow down the tape, you realize it was out of our hands for a split second. And then we grab the next one. If we're only holding one at a time quickly, you know what that tells me? It tells me we can hold one at a time slowly. Right? So, I hope you are going to have a great day. I hope you're already having a great day, of course. I hope you're going to give yourselves permission to have just exactly what you needed today. Whether it's good, difficult, awkward, relentless, joyful, ridiculous, whatever it is, try to remember that each one has two sides. And if it feels like a challenge, it's because it's an opportunity to win. And if it feels like a skate, it means you already have. Okay? I know it sounds like a Pollyanna. What I'm trying to do, hoping to do, focusing on doing is inviting you to slow the pace. Savor the moment. That's why we woke up. And we're here. We might as well, don't you think? Okay. Enough of this for now. We all have stuff to do. It's a busy time. The weather is being up and down and back and forth, and so that makes it even more busy. We have lots of plans. We may or may not choose to say, perhaps I'll dial it back a little bit so I can savor the flavor. Whatever it is you choose to do, remember to be good to you. You deserve it. And hug your loved ones because they deserve it too. And the last thing I want to say just before we go is that I only have 8 people still to invite to subscribe to the YouTube channel, and I've reached 300. I think that's incredible. I think that's amazing. I think it's incredible. And whether we find them now before the 31st or not, it doesn't matter because I know you're on your way. And I know you'll be here when you can get here. And I can't wait. So thank you, those of you who are watching. Thank you in advance for telling your friends and your loved ones that this is a kind of a cool thing to do. And I will see you in a couple of days on Thursday with more cool stuff. All right. Thanks for watching.